Bichara Supply Chain, highlighting and showcasing solutions for the most complex challenges facing the industry in 21st century by our team of subject matter experts and mentors. Broadcasting every week, all year round, we will present the most up-to-date series of podcasts and webinars.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Bichara Supply Chain. This is Nur Hadi House, and today we have a very special guest, Valkin, a logistic and shipping expert. Thanks for joining us, Valkin. It's great to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nur Hadi. It's my pleasure to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and your subscribers.
Absolutely. All right. So in today's episode, we are going to talk about the logistic infrastructure in Indonesia and Southeast Asia. Right. But before we get started, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and your professional background?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Well, basically, I've been in the industry since 1998. I started off as a management trainee in the Maersk Group, which is one of the leading container shipping and logistics companies in the world. Based in Denmark. So I was a management trainee, and through them I was working in India and then China, and then finally I came over into Indonesia. So I've been in Indonesia now since 2005 in the logistics space, and I've also then done work with companies like Accenture, consulting for them, and I've done bulk shipments, I've done bulk logistics, and I've also gone back into the shipping side. So I was an advisor with Sinarmas Group for their logistic shipping. And right now I'm working with a number of companies, including PSA, the Port of Singapore, as their advisor for Indonesia. So my focus is on how to help private companies, especially foreign companies, with their aspirations on the logistics space in Indonesia. So yeah, that's that's in a nutshell. I'm more or less the bridge between the private sector and government sector in the logistics space wherever the opportunity arises.
Interesting. Okay. In the context of globalization and Asian economic community era, Valkin, the competitiveness of Indonesian's industry is facing more severe challenge, right? And
right.
And it is partly due to the performance of logistic infrastructure. So, what is your take on this?
Well, look, honestly speaking, it's in some ways it's of course because we are a Nusantara, an archipelago, right? So it makes things a bit complex, but it's not only that. If you see our logistics cost, it's somewhere World Bank says around 25% to GDP, which is almost double of everyone else in ASEAN. Yeah, I mean Singapore, of course, is a class apart, but that's a different reason. But even if you see Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, they are all in the mid-teens. So here almost double. So that's a direct impact on our ability to sell goods, you see, right? Now I think the issue on it is also because we have not really developed our logistics infrastructure very well. We are behind most of the countries in ASEAN and in Asia in terms of privatizing or bringing in private sector to make the logistics infrastructure better. So that actually is the real issue, And during this call, I would like to highlight some of the issues and also speak about where I think the government is kind of on track. Something is better, but still, it's it's a bit. We're at least 20 years behind, I think.
And the other hand, the government of Indonesia has taken initiative by launching a few projects such as the Tolusi program integrated with the construction of the logistic infrastructure. So do you think that we are moving in the right directions? And as a practitioner in this space for many years, what is your thought?
Well, honestly speaking, the Maritime Toll Project sounds good as a concept, but I don't think it in itself it's having the right impact right now. Because it is, it's theoretically good, but I think the real issue is to unlock the existing infrastructure, So one of the good things, of course, recently is that they've added a lot of good roads, right, toll roads. So that actually helps in some ways. But I think our existing port, airport, and rail logistics really needs much more focus. So the maritime toll itself sounds good, but I think the real areas to unlock are, I'll say again, ports, airports, and the rail.
This is another very, very important question. So what is the ideal logistic infrastructure in your personal view?
Okay, I mean, to be very frank here, the ideal logistics infrastructure over here, we would actually need to start integrating. I think we get more private sector involvement in our in the port, airport, and rail segment.
Yeah.
Not because the state-owned enterprises are not capable. We've got some main professionals in the state-owned enterprise, but it's about tapping capital. We don't want to have a debt burden on the state-owned enterprises, and then we also miss out on practices. So the ideal logistics infrastructure involves bringing in best practitioners from the world and giving them the right portfolio projects with state-owned enterprises here in the right way, which is beneficial to all parties. So that would help. And we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can look at what countries like India has done, countries like China, even Turkey, Brazil. So it's not like something that has never been done in the world. So I think the ideal logistics infrastructure would involve bringing in the big boys and making them comfortable and making us comfortable with them, and then integrating the projects. Where then we can actually have seamless transportation between the ports, airports, and the rail connecting across Java and Sumatra to begin with, because that would at least cover up for almost 70 to 80% of our economy. And then that will unlock a lot of the value for our exports and imports.
As a consultant where you have successfully managed a project in the logistics and shipping, right? Of course, could you please share some success story with us where the infrastructure is managed well and logistics is finally given a significant contribution to the economy?
Well, I mean, it's still work in progress, unfortunately. But what we can see is that we've on the shipping side specifically, the government has allowed a lot of private sector growth, and that's where with one of my clients, we actually managed to bring in ships from the private sector to assist with one of the government companies to help the export shipments out of Kalimantan. So with that, what happened was it unlocked some cost issues, and it helped the export ships move faster. Yep. So everyone was happy. So it made that product move better. So that was actually one of the wins, and it took a lot of effort because the mindset was that you must always use the ships that the government already had in place. But that was creating bottlenecks because they weren't enough and they were a bit old. So convincing them took some time, but once it worked, everyone was happy with it. So that I must say, and it took a year or so to get that done. But once it worked, it actually improved and has now been replicated in other parts of the country as well. So that was a very good win. Besides that, we have of course been, we are still working on a few things now with other clients on ports and airports, but those are still work in progress because the policies also need to get clear in terms of how the private sector can come in the bidding, so how those mechanisms will be. So there's a lot of back and forth, which is creating delays.
Interesting. Okay, Velgin, before we finish the conversation today, do you have any other key takeaway that you'd like to share with our listener?
Yes, for sure. Look, honestly speaking, I'll just go back to my analogy, right? If you see what's happened, India in 25 years ago, India logistics was very bad. I use them as a specific example because it's very comparable with Indonesia. Both are big countries and both are democracies, right?
Yeah.
So it helps. And 25 years ago, everything was being done by the government. And so suddenly the government changed in terms of, they allowed private sector to come in, and it revolutionized everything. So now if you see our airports and ports, they've gone from 0 into the top 5, top 10 in the world, Delhi, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Mumbai airports, and all the ports across the country as well. We have allowed, we brought in people like PSA, Dubai ports. They've all gone into India, and even the airports are being run, with a lot of the global names coming in to operate it and make it more efficient. And even the rail side, we have allowed private participation on the logistics sector. And what this has done is it's of course created competition, it's created efficiencies, and you can see the Indian success story in the last 20 years, right? the economy has boomed and it's continuing to grow. So my view is, we need to actually replicate what someone like India has done over here. And that will see, it will create the impact. We will see people like Amazon and, Alibaba also then growing over here. If you see, even on e-commerce, while we are the biggest market, Amazon and Alibaba still have their main DCs supplying Indonesia from overseas. They don't have their own big bases out here yet. And that's something that could change if we actually show them that our logistics infrastructure is now world class. And there are enough of companies overseas who are willing to come into Indonesia at the moment they see that there are opportunities and they're willing to give these key projects to the private sector to work together. Because remember, we're not giving away our country's assets. We're only improving them. So it's a very important point, because people will say that you cannot give away assets. So and that's not the case. You can imagine that countries like India, China are not giving away their assets and they privatize it, just proving it. So government now the government has launched the Sovereign Wealth Fund. If you heard of it recently, Nur Hadi, INA.
Oh, yes,
Yes. So INA is a good concept, and we'll have to see how. They're very, very professional team, amazing professionals, and the concept linked to the omnibus. I think to omnibus number 10, rule number 10, which has 18 subclauses. That one gives the Sovereign Wealth Fund room and latitude to actually work on certain key projects, even in logistics, where then they can go and get private sector investors and operators to work with them to take those projects. So the concept sounds great, but remember, it's only been launched like a few months ago, right? So it's not yet proven, but it's a step in the right direction. As long as it's kept simple and transparent and quick, it will work. And I don't say things, this is not a pipe dream. If other complex countries have done it, so we can also do the same. So yeah, my parting comment to you would be that some of the key projects that need to happen in the future is, we need to get Jakarta Cargo Village going, grow it in the airport, in Jakarta Airport. We need to do the same in Surabaya Airport. We need to unlock the potential of Batam, which has been dormant for 20 years. Batam should have been the next Tanjung Kalapas, like what has happened in Malaysia. Tanjung Kalapas adds around 1% to Malaysia GDP, and it was successfully launched 20 years ago. That should have been Batam's story. And I think, it's late, but it's too late. Hopefully that will also grow. And we need to also fix some of our mega projects which are struggling. Kuala Tanjung, Kertajati Airport, as well as, make the Patimban is a success. So, a lot of things, Nur Hadi. The list can go on and on, but I know we have a time constraint. So, and these are active projects where me and many other people from all sides are working to try to make it better. So, there is a lot of progress, but it's, as I said in the beginning, we're kind of late behind these other countries in the region.
Interesting. All right, Velgin. Actually, I still have a couple of questions, but we are running out of time. So once again, thank you so much for taking time with me today, and I look forward to speaking with you at another time. Bye for now.
Thank you very much.
At Bichara Supply Chain, we are committed to driving global perspective to embrace technological adaptation in improving process efficiencies. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share Bichara Supply Chain. And stay tuned for the latest updates. To learn more, visit our website www.bicharasupplychain.com. Thank you for listening to us. We look forward to seeing you at our next episode.